Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel, Say What's Real TV. This review is for Tyler Perry's Zatima Season 2, Episode 2, Guilt Trip, now streaming over on BET+. So we open up the episode where we left off in episode 1 with Fatima telling Zach that she felt like he needed a side chick because this whole sexual appetite of his was way too much. So Zach, of course, he is looking like he is confused and cannot believe what Fatima is saying. He was like, "Are you serious? You gotta be, capping or whatever." She was like, "Look, I am serious. It's just too much." So Zach goes into this thing where he feels like she must want to see other people for her to even be saying all of this, and just wants him to agree to it first. And I'm like, Zach, now, if she feels like you're too much on a daily, why would she want to add another Peter to the mix? Like, think about it for a minute. That makes absolutely no sense. No, sir. So she was like, no. He was like, well, who is he? Who is he? And she was like, look, I didn't say anything about a doggone open relationship. I said a side chick. And Zach was like, well, damn, is that not what that is? Like, I'm confused. So she was like, look, she went to doing the rundown of how many times they had to do it. And Zach is like, look, I can't schedule, when I get aroused. She was like, look, I just want you to pace yourself. And she basically was like, look, you want to meet her? And she was like, I'll go get her. I already picked her out for you. And Zach, of course, he's still looking crazy. Like, who are you and what have you done with the real Fatima? So she says, look, I'll go get her. She's in the car. So I'm like, well, wait a minute, Fatima, because your car was left at work. So whose car is the side chick in? Because you got a ride from Angela. But anyway, Fatima, she comes back inside and she has a bag in her hand. So Zach thought he was getting ready to get him a real female. So she gives him the bag. He opens it and he's like, what is this? So he's looking at it. She's like, go ahead and read it. She's telling him the instructions on what to do, how to add the warm water and how it's going to feel like the real thing and this and that. And Zach was like, why would I want to use this when I got you? She was like, cause you done used me up, basically. So Zach told Fatima before he proposed to her, she was thotting it up all over the place. They was having sex all in the sink, under the sink, in the closet, on top of the closet, just all over everywhere. And he was like, now you want to come bring me some sex toy, like some side chick cat. He said he not using it. It's too hard. He can't do nothing with it. Fatima was like, look, I'm getting ready to get something to eat and I'm going to bed. So Zach was like, wow. Like, are you serious? She was like, yeah. She said, I need a break. So he was like, well, what we getting ready to eat? Then she tells him she brought takeout. So then it seems like he kind of getting his feelings because he's like, so you mean you brought takeout and you brought this sex toy or whatever? So I'm like, well, you got an attitude because she brought takeout, but then when was she supposed to cook? Because the minute she got in the house and couldn't even take her shoes off, you was trying to take her upstairs to have sex. So you wasn't worried about any food, so takeout it is. So Fatima goes and prepares the table for the food or whatever, and Zach, he's sitting there pouting and in his feelings all quiet. So she was like, you're mighty quiet. And he looks at her and he's like, this dinner is a fail. The coochie is a fail. Talking about this is a plastic fork. Like, what? See, Fatima is good. She is really good because me and Zach will probably be arguing. For real. Like, what is your problem? Like, get it together, sir. So she tries to have a normal conversation with him. So she asks him about Bryce, and he was like, that was another fail. Told her that the conversation with him was awkward, and she was like, well, the two of you would have had to talk eventually anyway. So she told him, by the way, I had a nail in my tire today when I left work, and one of the construction guys offered to help. And Zach, that just added on to his frustrations, and I guess it was the same thing Angela was trying to tell her earlier, that he was like, well, why didn't you call me? I'm never too busy to come and help you, or if you need me, whatever, you never call me for this and that. And she was like, I'm sorry, Zach, I didn't, think it was such a big deal. And, he got in his feelings about that. So he gets up from the table and he goes to sit on the sofa. So caring, loving Fatima, she goes to the sofa to try to, figure out what's going on. So she's like, well, you seem upset. And, he was like, I'm not upset. So bottom line, he wanted to know, how long does he have to wait? So Zach is pouting like a child because he wants to know how long he has to wait for sex. He don't even want to eat his food because he want to know how long he has to wait for sex. Fatima told him, look, it's not about time. I just need you to pace yourself. I need a break. And he said, well, let me ask you a serious question. So I think he feels like something is wrong with him, like a little insecure in a way. I don't know why, but he wants to know if she thinks something is wrong with the sex. Is there a problem? She keeps telling him no. She told him that earlier in the shower, so I don't know why he has to ask again. She says, no, I love it. I love it. When you do this, when you do that, I love it. So Zach tells Fatima he feels like once she got him hooked, she started changing on him. And she was like, that's not it at all. It's just too much. He said, well, why you didn't say anything before? She said she thought maybe it'll just die down on its own. And, they go back and forth with all of that. And he was like, well, he just basically wanted to try to get in all he can now because she getting ready to go to law school. And basically, they're not going to have time to be having sex the way he want to have sex. So she still was telling him, look, I still need a break. It's still too much. That's why I brought you the sex toy. So, he don't want to hear that. And then he ends up getting a phone call. So he doesn't answer the phone, and Fatima was like, well, who is that? He says it's Jeremiah, and she was like, well, what does he want? So Zach told her that he told him that he would go see their mom. And Fatima was like, well, are you going to go? And he was like, no, I don't want to go. Ain't nothing going to change, blah, blah, blah. So she basically encourages him to go because she knows that the mom has a problem. And she told him, look, you might as well go because you don't want something to happen to her. And then you weren't able to speak your piece or whatever. You didn't get a chance to do that. And she asked him, did he want her to go with him? And he was like, oh, no, you and my mom, like, oh, no, that's not going to work. So he said, and by the way, when am I going to meet your parents? Fatima, she go to looking all crazy or whatever. Come to find out, Fatima ain't never told her parents about Zach. They engaged, living together, everything, and the parents don't even know. So of course now, Zach, he's in disbelief, like, wow, you mean to tell me we've been engaged, all this time and you haven't even told your parents anything? She was like, I'm going to tell them in person. I'll see them over the weekend. Everything just happened so fast. And, she was like, I told you how my parents were, especially my mom. They want things done a certain kind of way. And she said that they would kill her if they knew she was living with him at the moment. And he was like, so what? You're grown. So now Fatima don't want to talk about it anymore. And Zach was like, see, that's what I'm talking about. Like, she always don't want to talk when it's time to talk. Like, that's something y'all need to be talking about. So Fatima, you wrong for that. But, that's a little crazy right there. I think that should have been something you should have told him a long time ago. But anyway, so those two go into their whole little banter about the sex again. And she started teasing him about the little side chick cat and telling him it squirts and this and that. Zach was like, he was over it. So Zach, he finally makes it over there to see his mom, and it was kind of crazy because initially he walked right past her. So I don't know if it was because he didn't recognize her or, he just didn't see her. I don't know. But, she makes him hug her or whatever, and instantly, within like a minute, she's like, oh, I heard you got a nice big old house. Is that true? Zach is like, yeah, whatever. And she said, you got some room over there for me? And Zach looking crazy, I'm looking crazy like, no, ma'am. And she was like, they trying to kick me from out of here. And Zach like, why? Basically, that's because Jeremiah over there selling drugs. That's why they getting ready to get kicked out. So the mama trying to have all the sense talking about, oh, we don't want nothing. I don't want nothing. I just want to see you. And all the while, when she say she don't want nothing, then she asks for something. Then she tried to lay this guilt trip on Zach like, well, if he out here selling drugs, it's because we got to do what we got to do because you ain't helping us out. And Zach looking like I gave y'all money already. Now, mind you, we remember that Zach gave Jeremiah a whole check for 10 grand. Now, she makes it seem like and admitted to smoking up the 10 grand because she got a problem. So, still laying on this guilt trip like, and your brother need a truck. Can you help him get a truck? He trying to get some kind of moving business. I'm like, oh, hell no. I'm like, Zach, you good, because I wouldn't be able to be standing there doing all that. She cursing him out. She telling him he got a nasty attitude. He keeps saying, what you want? I thought you didn't want nothing, but then you telling me this and that. And Zach went to telling her about all the different foster care he was in and getting whoopings just for breathing and this and that. And she like, oh, I did the best I could. And I'm like, child, it's just a lot. It's just a lot. So she said, I heard you had this bougie girlfriend and you got this nice car. She said, just don't forget about your family, because where would you be without us? Zach looked at her like she was crazy, like, are you for real? And those two go back and forth. And Zach said, look, Ma, I got to go. She said, you just got here. He said, I got to go. There's nothing here for me. She said, oh, that's how you going to be or something. And then she proceeds to ask for some money. Well, give me some money then. He said, what you need money for? Then he says, you claim you didn't want nothing, but buy your brother a truck. You claim you don't want nothing, but I need money for groceries. Like, make up your mind. So he said, look, you need groceries? I'll take you to get some groceries. Let's go. So they pull up to the store and Zach is asking his mom, like, what do you need out of the store? Basically, he was going to go in there and get whatever it was she needed. She convinced him that she can do it herself. Just give her the cash and she'll go get whatever. Talking about, if you don't trust me, how you gonna know I'm all right? I'm like, Zach, you shouldn't have fell for that. So he ended up, first she snatched his wallet, but he ended up giving her $100 cash and still told her, I'm going in the store with you, regardless, because she didn't even want him to go in the store, period. But he ended up going in the store with her. So they get inside and Gladys, she grabs a buggy and Zach following behind her, but then he gets a phone call from Fatima. So he tells his mom, look, I got to take this call. So Fatima, she's just calling to check on him, make sure he's all right, to see if he's still with his mom. And he's like, yeah. So while they're talking, some girl named Connie walks up and she don't see Zach on the phone. He like, I'm on the phone. And Fatima, she's like, well, who is that? He gonna say some man. So they end up hanging up and he acting all silly, talking about, ooh, the service. I actually thought that Fatima was still going to be on the phone and he just didn't hang it up and she was going to hear the whole conversation, but that's not what happened. So apparently Connie is someone Zach used to mess with back in the day. And she was like, oh, I remember when you used to tell me you loved me and how all the girls wanted you, but you was crazy about me, and told Zach he was the best lay she ever had, and how he used to be jumping out her mama window and this and that, and he was crazy about him some Connie, basically. So apparently Zach done got hard. So we know from Fatima all day that just talking about certain stuff, he gets rock hard. So Connie sees that. She said, I know you miss me, because soon as your thing heard my voice, he was standing at attention. So now Zach trying to cover up his private area. I'm like, Zach, you need to start wearing some bigger pants if your thing just sticking out like that. So he's trying to hide and this and that. He like, look, I gotta go. Connie trying to get his phone number. He gotta tell her, no, I'm engaged. She's steady messing with him about his pita and the balls and the juice and this and that. Zach trying to run off, talking about Ma, acting all silly. So Zach finally gets away from Connie, but as he turns the corner, he sees that the cart that his mom had is empty and she is nowhere to be found. And Zach is instantly upset and know that he got played once again. We see Fatima, she calls Angela, so she asks her about Bryce, and Angela tells her she's not talking to Bryce. She's still trying to avoid him at all costs or whatever. And she says she's trying to get a flat tire because she wants Paul to fix her flat. So they start talking about Paul and how fine he is. And Angela says, you know he was looking at you. Don't be trying to act all crazy now that you with Zach. And Fatima like, I can't do nothing for him. So they're going back and forth teasing about that. And Fatima, she hears Zach pull up outside. So she looks and she notices that he's not getting out the car. So she tells Angela, look, I'll talk to you later. I'm going to go and see what's up with Zach because he's just sitting in his car. So those two, they end up hanging up. So Fatima, she gets outside to the car and she gets in and she notices that Zach is not okay. So she was like, what's going on? What happened? What's wrong? He says he doesn't want to talk about it. He'll be in the house, in a little while. And she was like, well, what happened? What's the matter? He asks her, do you love me? She tells him yes. And he drops this single tear and she was like, oh, Zach. And that right there alone, just like Zach was acting his behind off in this scene. And she was like, Zach, you got to find somebody to talk to. We can find you someone to talk to. And he was like, when your own mama don't give a shit about you. And that was like, he was acting. He was acting. The tears were rolling. And Fatima was like, look, Zach, I'm not your mom. She's done some terrible things to you, but I am not her. And, she just encouraged him that they can get him somebody to talk to, get him some counseling. She brought up the fact that, they're going to try to start their own family. So they're going to need the proper tools in place, going forward. You don't want to go in, into all of that with your kids, dealing with all your old baggage like that. So that was wonderful for her to encourage that and support that with him. And it was amazing acting. He ended up telling her the story about when he was 6 years old and how his mom, they were at a gas station and he was lost and frantic and didn't know where she was. He was just scared. He go into the back and his mom was back there with a trucker giving head, and he's calling her like, mom. And she didn't even stop what she was doing, like she didn't even give a damn. And her leaving him in the store present day triggered him and reminded him of all those other things that happened. And he just started bawling. And Fatima was right there. She was like leaving his side. He told her, I know you got to get up to go to work. She said, I'm going to sit here with you as long as it take. And I was like, oh my God. It was a great scene. It was a great scene. I loved it. He just fell into her arms just bawling. And the episode ended there. Ooh, child. Anybody else need a tissue? They were acting they behind off in that car scene. I really, really enjoyed this particular episode. Drop down in the comments and let me know what you guys thought about it. As always, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for listening. And I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.